my fellow Sri Lankans. I thought I'll do this video today because I have some free time. I have been getting a lot of information about the crisis in Sri Lanka, and my heart goes out to you, to all of you. The crisis is of your own making. That's the absolute truth, because you have chosen the wrong leaders. And it's about time the world realizes that the current government systems globally, not just in Sri Lanka, doesn't work because of total corruption at every level. Now on this video, I'm talking specifically about Sri Lanka and the current crisis, and what you must do in order to bring about a better society, better government, and a better country, and how you must learn to live in harmony with one another and help one another. You all are the very people who were talking so highly of the Rajapaksas just 1.5 years ago, and you all are the very people who are turning against them right now. I am not politically motivated. I'm an entrepreneur, and my name is Olun Dimel. I'm giving you some snippets as to how you can come out of this situation. That is not asking Gotabaya or his family to run away. You all have chosen them as and elected them as your leaders. So you have to work with them and show them what they are doing wrong. So in order to do this, you need to have a soft revolution of showing them the people power and what people can do to change society and governments. Because it's you, the people, who have the power. The ultimate power is in your hands. And this video I'm doing is not encouraging you or discouraging you to do anything good or bad. You must do what is right. What is right for all of mankind, and in this instance, Sri Lanka. So you need to create something like a soft revolution. You need to unite people around and shared purposes. It's possible to start a revolution, although it can take a lot of patience, organization, and passion. It will be more likely to succeed if you don't win it. A revolution, the word came from the Latin word of turn around. It is a significant change that usually occurs in a short period of time, and you have reached that time. So now it is your moment to initiate change in Sri Lanka. You need to find such a central truth, whatever the revolution you are seeking. Find a way in a simple sentence to articulate your cause as a theory. Find a common purpose and define it. Create a clear and eloquent message to all people concerned, all races, all religions, and everybody in society must join in. Find a common purpose and define it. What does your revolution stand for? What does it want to accomplish and why? Create a simple and powerful message that you can push out to all the politicians involved and their wrongdoings. You will want a cause that connects to people's deepest passions and their sense of right and wrong. Anchor this in what really matters and how it will create a better world for you, your children, and future generations to come. Identify a need for reform. You can only build your case for change if you articulate why the present is broken. In addition to theory, you can do this by seizing on a specific need or concern that is backed up with data. Essentially, you are trying to articulate the reasons that change is necessary. Perhaps you want to change a single institution, like a school, target a need or concern that is high profile and compelling. To use the educational example, this might be high dropout rate. Perhaps you want to change a government. If you can explain specifically how that government is letting people down or endangering the environment or something specific like that, people will rally more to your cause. Create concrete goals. It's helpful for the evolution to know what is seeking to change. Legislation, a system of government itself, a simpler shaping of minds about a certain concept like environmentalism. Breaking down your goals into smaller changes can help the revolution make actual change faster. For example, you might wish you could eliminate poverty throughout the world by helping some local families in poverty. Might be a better place to start. You will see effects immediately, like what's going on in Sri Lanka right now. You have to always plan your message. Try to always do things non-violently. Learn to respect other people's properties. It's no point you saying that the politicians have robbed. Politicians have robbed your money. They are enjoying luxuries. You need to have facts before you. Having a funding backer could be useful. Access to raw materials can be helpful. You will need to fund basic costs that you might not think of at the front end, such as postage, printing, permit costs, and website. Seek donations in order to push your message through. You need very strong partnerships, people with resources, people intellectual, financial, or otherwise, who can join in and assist the organization of your revolution. Don't try to do it yourself. You need people around you, especially professionals who are subject matter experts. And you need to choose a very good leader. And leaders have very good symbols. When you look at them, you know what this leader, you should be able to identify what this leader is capable of. Put a charismatic face on the revolution. Revolutions can take off when there is a charismatic face of the revolution to rally the masses. This can be someone already known, or just a person who is particularly eloquent or who has standing on this particular issue. You need someone or something to represent your rebellion like a symbol. For example, Katniss is the Mockingjay. A leader can be the person with the original idea or just a person who is courageous enough to take the heat. Choose a spokesperson who is articulate and good on the camera. Build a rapport with the TV and newspaper reporters to get your message out. There are some who advocate making all decisions by group and staying anonymous with no clear leadership. So leaders can't be targeted or jailed by the opposition. Remember though, that having a charismatic leader can be another strategy. And if that leader is targeted and jailed, it can in some circumstances rally the masses to the cause. As in the case of Martin Luther King Jr. You have to also learn to recruit activists. You need the people who will organize and lead the movement. These people must be committed and willing to work in the trenches and to devote their heart and time to the cause. Motivate people to join because they believe in the cause. Give presentations at coffee houses and restaurants and hotels or music stores or other places where you think receptive audiences congregate. The organizational team will require people with different skills and techniques. They will know how to interact with the media and how to get the masses to turn out for a protest. The average people might relate more to people like them than charismatic leader. If they see other people they know or relate to joining in, they will feel more comfortable doing so themselves. You cannot create a revolution with a single person. You need to remember the ground game. Creating a revolution, it's a painstaking process that requires grassroots organization, build support and consciences. Nothing is going to happen if the only rebels are you and your buddies. This is an important step and a step for either a successful revolution, a small civilian rebellion that's a flop. Build partnership with other people and groups. Seek supporters for your change. You will need people both inside and outside the institution and all spheres of social structure in question to have a better chance at achieving a change. Don't succumb to the temptations of competition. Identify these people and then seek their support. Pick people who are influencers and can themselves reach more people. Pick a mixture of people with different strengths. Build alliances and link with other partners and people who are already working on the same cause or one related to it. Sri Lankan, my brothers and sisters of Sri Lanka, you will need at least 15% of the population to create a shift. Bring new people on board your team. Don't turn only to people you know. Find people whose skills are needed. Try to reach out to groups that are already organized and have membership lists and ground operations. Unions are an example, but in current day, most governments have crushed unions. So it's important. Unions have to be very strong and always look to have strong unions and prescribe to it. You must also either ask for the support of or recruit intellectuals. It's easier to start a revolution if its causes are supported by intellectuals. This can mean professors, researchers, authors, artists, speakers, and opinion writers. Intellectuals can help build the rationale for the revolution by articulating compelling theory. They can provide facts that will build the cause. And in your case, many revolutions ignite with deeper seminal work, such as Martin Luther King Jr.'s letter to Birmingham. The King wrote this letter while in jail in response to a public statement issued by 8 white southern religious leaders. It became a central document of the civil rights movement that diffused the opposition and rallied support. This is exactly what Sri Lankans must do. Just going on protests without remedies will not help your cause. So I beg all Sri Lankans, do not just act on snippet of information. You have to act on logic where change can come. It's no point you thrashing the Rajapaksas or for that matter any other party if you do not have remedies to propose to them, or you take control yourself. If you don't have such remedies, don't go and protest. But everything must be soft power. You have to use your soft power. Do not take to arms. Do not destroy property. Do not hurt other people. Okay? So going back to intellectuals. Intellectuals can also help create a coherent and clear vision that will excite the masses about what the future can hold for them and what a better world that you can create. Intellectuals can also articulate what the new world or the new country that you look to create for the betterment of the next generations. We must also always look at science. Speak to scientists. Polemics matters, but grounding the movement in science and data can be particularly effective. Consider the global warming debate and how important science is to the environment and movement as they seek to make their case. Ground the movement's cause in scholarly research that is respected in its field, including from those who are not directly involved in the movement. It will be much harder for the opposition to refute the movement's arguments. So, it is very, very important that who's protesting must have leaders in these protests. These leaders must have remedies. You have to articulate these remedies so you, the protesters, have very, very good logical answers to give to the people why you protest. We all know from historic data that the politicians to govern Sri Lanka since independence have not done a very good job in the interest of their people. I'm not here to tell that politicians are thieves. The governments can do so much, and especially reflecting on Sri Lanka. Sri Lanka does not have so much surplus money, and it's really no point you saying the politicians have transferred billions and billions of dollars to foreign accounts without proof. You must have proof in order to back your argument. So this is very, very important for anyone to realize. We all would like to see a better Sri Lanka. We would come forward to assist Sri Lankans and the institutions and the government if proper practices where checks and balances are there for the public to view. Your tax money should be on the internet as to how it's spent. People can't just come and say they spent so much for this, so much for building roads, and so much for paying back loans. Sri Lanka should be debt free. You must also remember one thing. You must use all available avenues for you to drive this message through. Now that you started the protests, you shared a lot of information on social media through your networks and your friends and your families. Thank you for that. We get to a very good snippet of understanding as to how Sri Lanka and its workings and its shortcomings. This is not to pinpoint blame on other people. It's very easy to do this. Just to pass the buck to someone else, expecting them to create a better haven for you. That does not work. What you have to do, you have to be rational. For a revolution can come from all artistic realms and areas of different cultures, like the pop culture, the art culture, and public speaking, and also the written word. Spoken word like poetry, music, and art, including public art, can advance your message and cause more effectively most times. Some art can be lasting. Consider a mural painted in a community. Music has the ability to influence minds all over the world, just not in Sri Lanka. It's beautiful. Music is beautiful to your ears. So sing and write lyrics that will register in one's mind. Music has the ability to influence minds in all spheres of life. Try to humanize the movement. Make people care by telling the stories of real people whom the masses will identify with care, love, and dignity. You can also create a blog. Install WordPress or another blogging service. Write a blog and push it out to the masses. In it, create intellectual foundation for why change is needed and explains how change will look and what it would mean for your audience and everybody who lives in Sri Lanka. Consider other formats as well. You might want to create a documentary. Make documentaries. This can educate and motivate a big audience. Don't forget the power of short videos. Make short films, 5 minute, 10 minute, like what I'm doing. I'm sure this will go all over and put a different snippet in your thinking process. Use old and new media. Use a written word and multimedia like videos. Use social media and blogs, but plant your message in traditional newspapers and magazines. Push your message out through multiple formats and mechanisms available to you, or seek for that assistance. And no doubt your friends and your family will help you out. Remember to harness the power of social media. Social media is a great way to get your message in front of a lot of people. The truth hurts everyone, okay? Because most people in the world, I would say 95% of the people on this planet, they like to live a lie. That's because they are very scared of the truth. This is why governments play at. They are very skillful, and the laws apply to government officials and not to the public. This is why I want to empower you, that you, the people, have enormous power. Power is a very dangerous word in this world today. But power is necessary in order to logically transmit your message for change. Now that is very, very important that you learn this. You have to learn this. Never use violence. Never attack another human being below their belt. That is very, very unethical and it's not decent. You must fight your battle face to face. This doesn't mean that you go and hit people or break people's property. Once again, I repeat this. No, you have to treat them with utmost respect and dignity at all times. But keep your message very forthright with the law on your side. Never ever break the law. So how will people respond to this? Especially the social media. Videos and so forth can be always faked. And social media has its good and bad points. And that is why you must be very, very truthful in what you say and what knowledge and what information you gather. And all the information that you gather must have factual evidence to back it. And researchers have found 5 stages in the process of change. And I have researched this a lot for many years in my life. And I'm going to share this with you. The first phase is called uniformed optimism. And it's the honeymoon phase of any project, like in this instance, a revolution, a soft revolution. There will be energy and enthusiasm at this point. However, problems will then crop up, and informed pessimism results. Some change efforts may be abandoned. So you have to really understand everybody with all your passion will not agree with you, right? But you have to hear them out. Always be open to criticism. Not to wind you down, but in order to work with you. So you have to sing from the same hymn sheet. Otherwise, the changes that you want to instigate will have to be abandoned. This is why it's very important for you to always remember you have to work with different mindsets, different opinions, different ideologies. But you have to have the capability and the capacity in order to accommodate all this in unison. And then your ultimate goal can be achieved harmoniously. In order to continue with the movement, you will need hopeful realism. The third stage and the second stage is intertwined. This sets in when efforts succeed, even though there were some problems. And progressing forward, this is something that you have to always bear in mind. Finally, the rewarding completion develops when you can show concrete results and communicate them to all concerned. This is how any revolution can be won. It's not about guns and bullets and tankers. Your soft power is more powerful than guns and bullets because you have facts before you. And when you speak the truth, nobody will come to argue with you. And how do you take this action forward now? This is the most important step because revolution dies without it. You must take action, whether it's non-violent protest or a sit-in or a boycott. Your leader must motivate the support and dutifully work day and night to improve your revolution. But at some point, you need to do something, not just write about it or talk about it. The power in place will defeat itself. For that is the nature of power. As I told you earlier, power, how people use power is very, very dangerous because they don't understand the meaning of power. Power is beautiful in its own right, but people use it incorrectly. Illegitimate governments are not happy about rebellion from their people and will do anything to crush resistance. Remember, always remember, your goal is the heart of your operation, and don't ever lose sight of your goal. Your consciousness is the mind of the revolution. Remember, your consciousness is the mind of the revolution. And I mean a soft revolution with absolute fact. And the actions you and your support take are the hands of your own revolution. You can work from the outside or within. You have to gain decision-making positions in key institutions. Some of these who have studied revolutions have argued that revolutions are slow and require patience. And this is true. I'm not saying your protests and you seeking change immediately may not happen. This could be a long process, but you must now plant the seeds. The seeds you plant will bear the sweetest fruits in years to come. In years to come. It's not overnight remedies. Overnight remedies will last a week and then it'll die. You need to go about and planting that oak seed that will live for thousands of years. You must learn to penetrate into institutions that have power in society. Some of those can be churches, temples, synagogues, covils, mosques, and unions and political parties gain their influence within the decision-making ranks. This is very, very important. How you take things forward. Once you have their support, that is power within. Then you can use the newborn platform that you created with this revolution. And the change will come from it. Remember, change, you don't need to resort to violence. You can empower people by giving them the facts and confidence, courage and strength, and all the changes will happen within. When you find a target, you will need a foil to define your movement. Choose a target and then personalize it. In this case, you want government corruption to end. You want the social security services to work very well. You need better public transportation, better care, and care for the elderly, care for your young, care for women, care for men. These are things that is most important in any society. These are the fundamental fabrics that must be woven into any society. If these fabrics are not woven into any society, it's a failure. You have to learn to freeze the target by centering on the target, whether it's an institution or a specific leader. In this case, let's say for this conversation, the Rajapaksas. Okay? You have to match your strong points against their weak points. Because thus far, what people are showing to the world is the Rajapaksa family has shown their weak points by installing their own family members in governments when there are such qualified people in Sri Lanka. Sri Lankan people are extremely clever. Every Sri Lankan I know who have gone out of Sri Lanka have excelled in their chosen field. Why can't these people do this in Sri Lanka? Sri Lanka will be one of the most tiger, dynamic lion economies in the world. So let's not talk about historic events. Let's talk about the current situation. And using your soft power, how you can change this. You may not be able to change this overnight because they are not going to give up without a good fight. Because you people have elected them into these seats. So all I'm trying to tell you is how you can change. It's no point thrashing the Rajapaksas. It's no point sending all these crude messages, talking about their past and what Gotabaya Rajapaksa did when he was in the United States. End of the day, he had to look after his family. I have seen pictures of him working petrol stations and what does it matter? Even if I sweep the road, I want to make sure I do a very good job of that. Don't insult another human being for what they've done in the past. He has done to look after his family. You have to appreciate the man and you have to give him enough time. He's only taken over this position 2 years ago. You have not given him enough time and he has taken over a total headache. And you want the man to create miracles in 2 years. That's not going to happen. If that's the change you want, you are flogging a dead horse. Take it from me. You'll be in the same situation in another 10 years' time. Because it's not a person that you want to change. What you need to change is the system. The old system of government, the colonial rule, the colonial ways of looking at things has to end now. Not in another 25 years. You all are thinking from a colonial, dehumanized platform. That's not going to work. That really will not work. You have to think like an individual, a straight talking man, and be honest with what you say. So don't think just because you want to change Gotabaya Rajapaksa is going to end all your problems. No. What I would very respectfully ask from all of you, go and meet with him, put your proposal to him, and work with him to go about making these changes. Then you will have a beautiful Sri Lanka that you always wanted. Sri Lanka has everything, the most beautiful gems on the world. Tea plantations, coffee plantations, and coconut, and the beautiful beaches, beautiful mountains. You got the whole works, but you are so poor. And that is not a strength. It's okay, what's happened is happened. We will think about how to change the system, how to change the way Sri Lanka governs, and how to change how these uneducated Sri Lankan politicians who are in parliament. You have to take them out. You have to totally take them out, remove them. And you have to install decent, educated, intelligent people in order to look after your interest. Remember all the time that you, the man and woman and child, has the ultimate power. Always remember that. And all the politicians, the presidents, the prime ministers, and these ridiculous sounding MPs of Sri Lanka, they are your servant. They are your servants. Kick their ass and get them to work. Now here's another bit of, I will share with you some past revolutions that have really taken place, and they've gone forward and moved regimes. They moved mountains. You can create a revolution that is modeled on some of the principles that worked before. History is replete with revolutions that succeeded. The American Revolution, the French Revolution, the Civil Rights Movement, they are all worthy of mentioning. Revolutions often start by the old or the established organizations in any society. You have to always remember, disorganize them by challenging their foundations and principles. This is exactly what you have to challenge. You are working on a system that is prehistoric. We are now in the 21st century, and it's about time that you change this system and build foundations based on principles. Revolutions have happened throughout human history and very widely in terms of methods, duration, motivation, and ideology. And the number of participating revolutionaries. Their results include major changes in culture, economy, and socio-political institutions. So, you have the mechanisms that has always been there, but you have not made use of them. So, this should highlight the core principles of democracy and how it operates, if you want to call it that. In my opinion, democracy in the current form is a license to rob. In the name of democracy, just not in Sri Lanka, it's a global issue. It's a global problem. Democracy is there and a license to rob. Once it's all disorganized, the new is able to better organize. That is you, the younger generation, and the current intellectual people, intelligent people who care for, if you care for your country and the future of that country, you are totally capable of organizing a proper structure. Determine your tactics. Remember that power is what the enemy thinks you have. Keep the pressure on. Use ridicule. Hold the enemy, in this case, the politicians, to their own stated rules. Switch tactics when you want to, because tactics can lose effectiveness if they drag on. So, your tactics must be swift. Your tactics must be swift, and it must be executed in military precision. So, There should never be civil disobedience. Sometimes people decide that political channels are not working, so they take to the streets in a show of people power. I told you earlier on, people power is good as long as you argue for change with facts before you. For example, people have protested on chemical factories in China and mining issues in Washington, D.C. They have taken to the streets to protest what they see as a police abuse. In China, in the United States, who call themselves a democracy, they use police power to crush these protests. I hope that's not going to happen in Sri Lanka. That should never be the case if the protesters are non-violent. You can try to work within the system, but when that's not working, you can work outside of it, but in a very visible way, like a hunger strike or a mass protest. A revolution is always needed when something is not right and the ruling institution will do nothing to make it right. When this happens, it means that the time has come for the people to come together and fight for their own interest. Sometimes by fighting to press the establishment to reform itself. This is very important. This is exactly what I've been telling you all this time. You have to get the administration to reform itself within. And this is why you should pressure this and plant the seeds now. So the future generations will have a totally different mindset to what people see what's not working now. And no matter how long it takes, once you have planted the seeds, it will start to grow. And in this instance, you are not going to plant bananas. You are going to plant an oak seed that will live for thousands of years. You do this by humanizing the topic. You must humanize the topic you want to challenge and relate this to the people. Tell their stories of injustice or get the media to do so. Or as I told you earlier on, make short films, post it on YouTube and social media throughout your own family, friend networks. The message will get through. Short videos. Show that the movement is not based solely on data. This is about real human beings who are suffering or being mistreated, like the case in Sri Lanka. Choose the right spokesperson. For example, like a mother's grief may be more powerful, but you must always remember to ground the emotional response with data and research too. So my dear Sri Lankans, I really wish you luck, and we all want to help you. Don't beat the beaten drum anymore. Try to find and be the intrepid explorer of this very dark territory. And no doubt you are going to succeed. On that note, wish you very best wishes. Thank you.